Crisis everywhere, from the Middle East to the South China Sea. There are new challenges in global security for every country. Hello, and welcome to GPI Forward. I'm Ty Reagan. Joining me, Paolo von Schirach, editor of the Schirach Report and president of the Global Policy Institute. From a global policy standpoint, the U.S. has played a role in dealing with these international crises. What can the world expect from the U.S. going forward for its continuing role?
Of course, we're now right in the middle of a presidential election here, right? So much depends on who gets elected. There used to be a historic, how can I say, national consensus which went from the end of World War II throughout the Cold War, etc., in which both parties seemed to have an understanding of what the appropriate role of the United States was supposed to be. Right now, this seems to be broken, quite frankly. There's acrimonious debates and disagreements domestically as to what America should or shouldn't do. Now, if we take this one step forward and try to anticipate the outcome of the elections, we can expect under a Trump presidency that America may in some sense retreat from global leadership and try to assert its own, how can I say, its own national interests, especially in the area of trade. But we can also expect some degree of selective interventionism, in particular when it comes to ISIL and the Middle East. In the case of Mrs. Clinton, at least based on her rhetoric, we can see that her approach is a bit more traditional. So continuity, keep things going, keep the American commitment to alliances, to global affairs, to trade, to human rights and what have you. The real question is, can either president unite the nation behind whatever vision they have? That's question number one. Question number two, does America still have the means to take care of all these complicated and costly matters?
What do you mean by the means? Why are we so concerned about that?
Well, because it's about money in the end. Because money and the availability of funds and the having or not having our fiscal house in order has enormous impact on how much money gets to be spent. Well, of course, there's national growth, which means revenue, taxation, and what have you, but it also means how much money gets to be spent on defense, on international affairs, and foreign aid, etc., etc. So that is really very important. Probably it's never become as apparent as now that declining economic resources at home have an impact on the ability of the United States to play, a very, how can I say, enthusiastic and forceful role in international affairs.
Now, the impact of these declining resources doesn't only affect the U.S., but are there any countries that we could expect to fill their role in the global community? Well,
America maybe is, taking a bow and retreating and becoming more like a regular country and let somebody else, come to the fore and take care of it. Quite frankly, it's very difficult to say who has the combination of liberal democratic values, of a good approach towards international trade, and a pension, right, and the money and the ability to have, how can I say, a fair approach towards international crisis and whatnot, and step into the shoes of the United States. Can China do it? I don't know. Can Russia do it? Certainly not. Can the European Union, which is more like our brothers and sisters or cousins at the very least in terms of the makeup, the values, the general institutions and economic economic makeup. Europe is big, but it's relatively weak. It's a sort of fragile group of nations. So to answer your question, if America is unable to step in again in its traditional role, I very much I'm in the dark in saying, well, who's going to do it, after next year or the year after?
Without the U.S. filling its traditional role, and with all these other countries dealing with increased problems at home, you have to wonder what the global community is going to look like a few years from now, not just what the U.S.'s role in it is going to be. Thank you for joining us For GPI Forward, I'm Ty Reagan. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.